I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about acne because basically it affects all of us. You know, whether you're a teenager or a woman or a guy, it doesn't really matter. Everyone at some point in their life has had pimples. That's just sort of part of what's going on in the world, huh? So, everyone knows what acne is. It's basically inflammation, accumulation of white blood cells under the skin that causes the surface to raise, and you get that little red bump, right? So, what are the causes? One of the biggest one for internal causes is food. Food plays a huge role in whether or not you get acne. And part of the reason is because two of our main sources of calories, especially in America, is vegetable oil and sugar. Uh, Vegetable oils are oxidized, they're inflammatory, and what happens is your white blood cells mistake the oxidized oil for the fatty acids. And basically, what happens is it creates an immune response in your skin when those are present, which then triggers the formation of acne. And vegetable oils are things like corn, soy, canola, margarine, things that you get out of the deep fryer. Um, they're in the majority of processed foods. And of course, if you've ever tried to avoid sugar, sugar also feeds this little fire. It's added to almost all packaged food. It's really kind of sad how difficult it is to avoid added sugar. And that in turn, so when your food is dialed in correctly, your hormones can get dialed in better, you sleep better, you have less stress. That's my number one reason for telling people to go paleo is I finally felt like my body was no longer at war with itself. And I found this sense of peace that I never really knew existed. Um, and all of those things affect your body on the inside, and they in turn have an effect on your skin, which we're going to learn more about. Now, the external causes of acne, of course, dirt. If you're the kind of person who goes to sleep and you don't take your makeup off, or if you don't wash your pillowcase very regularly, I know for me, if I don't wash my pillowcase at least once a week, I'll break out. Dry skin can cause acne because when your skin is too dry, it sends a signal to your oil glands to ramp up their production. So there's some people that say, oh, I have really oily skin. Well, actually, it's dry skin trying to balance out with excess oil production. Abrasion, which I'm going to show you guys. I don't know about you guys, but I know, especially back in my teens, whenever you had acne, you kind of had this feeling of, maybe I can scrub it away. And so, you kind of go at war with your face. And you try all these different drying products and scrubs, and, you get in the mirror with a little needle, or, you try and pop your whiteheads. And I think we've all been there. And so that's where I want to get into talking about your skincare routine. What are you doing? And, are you in fact causing your own acne just by how you're treating your skin? For most people, I would say dial in the food first and see how far that gets you. Because that likely will get you a long way. That combined with some of the tips I'm going to share with you about your skincare, so you're not actually making the problem worse. So again, some of the foods that cause acne, they cause aging, they cause joint pain, and basically, most of these are things that people know of. Too much sugar, sweets, vegetable oils down there on the right. Dairy is one that I don't think many people suspect because we've always been told it's a health food. And basically, it kind of depends on the person, how well you tolerate dairy. I know for me, generally, I kind of stay away from it, other than grass-fed butter. Every once in a while, I might find myself in the middle of a cheese platter just because, it's delicious. But guaranteed, if I have, anything other than butter, I break out right in my jawline. So that's something to consider. Dairy kind of walks a fine line in the paleo world, and basically, a lot of it has to do with your ancestry. So if you have a lot of ancestors from the northern latitudes, they likely needed milk as a food source during the winter when there wasn't a lot of plant life around. And so those people are more likely to tolerate dairy. Whereas I'm sure maybe some of you know that people who come more from the equatorial region of the planet, where they didn't have to rely on dairy because plant life grows all year round, those are the people who are more likely to be lactose intolerant. But that being said, people at higher latitudes are more susceptible to having gluten issues, and the casein protein in dairy is very similar to gluten. It sort of behaves the same way in the body. So if you have a gluten issue, you may have a dairy issue as well. And the best way to really tell is just take it out of your diet for like a month and then try adding it back in, see how you feel. Down there on the lower left, I know it looks like a great sandwich, but it's probably from a fast food joint, which again, loaded with vegetable oils. There's probably a ton of sugar in that bun. And wheat, the bread you see up on the right, modern wheat, 2 slices of wheat bread will cause a larger insulin response than if you ate a Snickers bar. And so basically, like, your body doesn't care whether it's a grain or you're eating those sugar cubes. Like, a carbohydrate is a carbohydrate, and they're all going to produce an insulin response. Rice is one of those things that kind of walks a fine line in the paleo world, because if you cook it and you cool it, it turns into a resistant starch, and so you don't get necessarily as much of the carbohydrate load because it doesn't digest the same. There are some people who do quinoa or wild rice. And basically, you just have to find what works for you. And again, you do that by, taking these things out for a while, and then you try adding them back to see how your body's going to respond. Now, this is a before and after photo that my cousin shared with me. The photo on the left is when she was eating her standard American diet, and you can see she has some acne. And then following me on social media, she decided she was going to try this paleo thing, and she went Whole30, which is paleo without any added sweeteners. And you can see on the right how her skin completely cleared up just from changing her food. So, like I said, that can get you a long way. So, talking about the skin, what you'll see here is this is your oil gland, and it's connected directly to your hair shaft. Now, when you get to, scrubbing on your skin, that's what I was talking about before, you feel like you can scrub it away. You end up kind of moving these hairs back and forth when you're scrubbing your face, which in turn pulls on this oil gland and causes your skin to create more oil. It also contributes inflammation and things of that nature that really aren't helping your cause. So down here you can see your arteries. Arteries bring flesh blood to your skin, and the veins carry deoxygenated blood away back so that your lungs can put more oxygen back into it. But basically, the epidermis of your skin, this bottom layer right here, is kind of technically like the last living layer of your skin, if you will. Because this layer, this called your stratum basale, has access to resources down here. And then as these cells divide, they sort of dehydrate and push up toward the surface where they use stratum corneum, which is basically a layer of dead skin cells. So some of the things that can help, like with exfoliation, you want you want the right kind of exfoliation. You don't want to scrub too hard. I'm more of a fan of maybe like a fruit acid, something that will kind of help keep these pores open to kind of help keep them from getting clogged. But at the same time, something that isn't too aggressive. And I'll share with you later one of my favorite facial peels. So I'm sorry this picture didn't come out very well. I played with it, and it was either make it really small so you couldn't see it, or big like this where you can kind of see it, but it's a little blurry. And again, I apologize for that. So basically, these are just different scenarios of the formation of acne. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with blackheads and whiteheads. And the science names are an open comedo and a closed comedo. What happens is when you have an accumulation of sebum, so these are your oil glands again, and the white blood cells come in. That's their job whenever they suspect there's some sort of inflammation. So these multiply, and that's how you end up with a pustule or, a big old acne head. So again, if your skin is oily, you still want to moisturize. I think more often than not, people with oily skin, again, have dry skin. It doesn't have to be, I probably wouldn't go with an oil-based cleanser. I would go maybe with a water-based cleanser or moisturizer. Something that's light on your skin, if you believe it truly is oily. Again, I think when you get your diet dialed in, some of that should probably go away. And then in turn, when your hormones can cause oily skin, which again, you kind of get your diet dialed in. That kind of helps get your hormones going in the right direction. Again, don't go with the harsh abrasion because you just stimulate more oil. And like I said, again, I can't stress it enough how important food is in your overall appearance of your skin. And also make sure you're drinking water. Water or, a tea without any sweeteners that's going to have antioxidants. Those things are going to help. If your skin is dry, again, you want to moisturize and find a non-drying cleanser, like an oil-based cleanser, actually. That's what I use, and I absolutely love it. Your skin can be dry, again, from your hormones. It could be sex hormones, could be thyroid hormones. It could be just the stage of life that you're in. Did you just have a baby? Are you a teenager going through puberty? All these things, some of them you can't really do much about being 16 or just having a baby, but hopefully some of the things you'll learn in this video can kind of help mitigate some of the effects. Gentle exfoliation for your dry skin, that's great. I know the exfoliator that I use, it's amazing. It's a total game changer. And I feel that I end up using less moisturizer because my skin absorbs it better. So a little bit goes a lot farther. It's sort of like you've sort of taken off some of that stratum corneum, that top layer of dead cells. And so it allows things to penetrate your skin a little bit better. And then once again, your diet is going to help. Your skin needs healthy fats, like omega-3 fats. So like your fish, your lard, avocados, nuts, things like that are going to help provide your skin with like good fat. Hydration, I know for me, if I don't drink enough water, I completely see it on my face. So every morning I try and make myself drink a quart of water, just sort of like, boom, get out of bed, throw it back, and then get on with my day. So some of the products, the reason why when I sell Beautycounter, two, the reason why I partnered with them. One, they're a B corporation, which means they're environmentally friendly. Two, they send women to lobby Congress to pass stricter safety standards for the skincare industry. What we currently have was written in 1938, and the document is a page and a half long. So there's lots of things, like, for example, like they can put organic skincare on the label, and there's no one there to check that. Organic skincare products don't have the same oversight as organic food does. There's things, like UVA sunscreen, like there's no FDA regulation to make sure that if somebody puts, yeah, it protects you from UVA, that's in fact true. It's really kind of scary when you get into it. What I recommend you do is check out the Safer Skincare booklet I put together in this program, in the Flourish course, and that will kind of open your eyes a little bit to what's going on. Um, Again, like, even if you don't buy this stuff, these are sort of things to kind of keep in mind whenever you are using, sort of things to look for. One of the things I recommend is run whatever you're using by the Environmental Working Group website, and they will kind of give you an indication of how safe your products are. And just being mindful that whatever you pull up, look and see why it gets the rating that it does. I know some things may get a big number because they may have something in them that's allergenic, which, for example, say, like, they don't put peanuts in beauty products, but I'm going to use that as an example. Peanuts, for some people, they're deathly allergic to those, but they still make peanut butter. For other people, it's completely fine. So really, it just sort of depends on the person. So just because something's allergenic doesn't necessarily mean it'll be allergenic to you. It's something to keep in mind if you discover that you have a reaction to whatever. But just because something gets a number, maybe a 3 or 4 or whatever, look and see why they have that number. So Beautycounter does make a counter control line, which is specifically for acne. It's good for teens if they find that, they have like over oily skin, which could be hormones. But again, I'm still that person that gets back to, what does their diet look like? I know kids, I have an 8-year-old, don't necessarily eat very well, and a lot of them carry some of those bad habits into their teen years, or I remember when my best friends in high school, every day for lunch, she'd eat a package of chocolate donuts and Nutter Butters. And she had acne. And that was sort of the thing, So make sure you know what your kids are eating, how much soda are they drinking, things like that. Not that you want to, turn into the food police, but, just let them know that, hey, some of the choices you're making could be affecting your skin and your acne. I know for me, whenever I get a little breakout, I don't really get that many anymore. I'm 44 now, thank God. I put a little bit of toothpaste on it, and I swear it works better than any acne treatment I had, the benzoyl peroxide stuff as a kid. It doesn't give me that big, dry, flaky patch of skin that I used to get. It seems to work really well. So, that's something I'll throw out there, try that out. Beautycounter also makes a balancing set. There's a mask, a face oil, and a face mist. And that's for people with combination skin. So you have dry patches and oily patches, and that is designed to kind of help balance those two things out. I gave some to a friend of mine who has oily skin, and she's absolutely loved it. Their counter match it's interesting. It's for normal skin, but it's also anti-aging. So maybe if you're a little bit older, this might be a good one. Even, for teens, this might be good. It kind of depends on how much oil production they have. If it has to do with like really bad diet and, a lot of excess oil because not because their skin is dry, but because it's genuinely oily just from their hormones, then I would lean more towards counter control. But if their skin is maybe oily because it's dry and they're eating really well, maybe try the Counter Match lotion. They make a lotion and they make a sleeping cream. I like the sleeping cream. I use it personally because it's heavier. I like heavier things on my face. I live out here in the desert, and the thing I like about Countermatch is it hydrates where you need it and not where you don't. They went out and they looked at plants in different environments and went to learn how these plants had these abilities to adapt to, extreme weather conditions. And based on what they've learned, they've used how to make this line, this Countermatch line, where it will hydrate where you need it and not where you don't, which there's a patent pending on it because it's kind of revolutionary, which I think is pretty cool. We also make a charcoal bar, which is a good, just basic cleanser. And that's also great for somebody who maybe they have acne on their back. And, people love it on their face. I haven't tried it yet, but everybody says it's the one thing they did not expect to really love. And I didn't put it on here, but Beautycounter also makes a nourishing line, which is just sort of basic skincare that you may also consider some of their things. The resurfacing peel, earlier I was talking about which peel do I use. It's made of 15 different fruit acids. And I have pretty sensitive skin. My skin, will break out. It does get red in the past. I have had issues with flakiness if I use something that's a little too harsh. There's a picture I should have put in here where an esthetician, like, oh, you have oily skin. And so she gave me this whole skincare line. She didn't give it to me. I bought it. That was basically for acne and meant to dry out my skin. And my face looked like a red tomato because it was a lot of glycolic and salicylic acid, which are great, exfoliants, but it was too much for my skin. And eventually I figured out, my skin was oily because it was actually dry. When I started using heavier moisturizers, my skin was no longer oily. So anyway, this resurfacing peel, I have, I usually use it maybe a couple of times a week, and one little pump will do my whole face, which is maybe about the size of a pea. And it's a total game changer. Like I said, I use less moisturizer now that I use the peel. My face looks great. I've even pushed it where I've used it every night, 5 nights in a row, purposely trying to see how it would work on my skin, see if it would make me break out or have big flaky peels, redness, things like that. And it didn't happen. It's pH balanced. So it's designed to not have those things happen. And truly, I can't say enough about it. If anybody were ever going to buy anything Beautycounter, the resurfacing peel, that's the thing. It's total game changer. So basically why I named this, treating your skin with kindness is, I know a lot of us, I know I have in the past, you kind of go into attack mode when you get acne because for some reason we're afraid of what society thinks or, oh, I have a big presentation or I have a date or, I have some big something going on and there's this big thing on my face. And, honestly, I've never really cared if someone had a pimple on their face because I know I've had one. So don't really put so much thought into it. It's, anyone who's going to judge you based on, a pimple on your face probably isn't your friend anyways. So anyways, be patient, eat well, and remember that less is more. I know some people kind of get into this situation where, okay, I have the cleanser, and then I have the mist, and then I have the toner, but then I have the serum, and then I have the exfoliator, and I, do this oil, and then I do this moisturizer, and then they put like 12 different things on their face. Well, you're basically doing a chemistry experiment on your skin. So of course it's going to get upset and break out. It's not meant to do that. Like a simple cleanser, a simple moisturizer, maybe a serum, if that's, something that you're looking for. Like just get the basics, get the food dialed in, get the hydration dialed in, and then, remember less is more. Don't go into attack mode, don't scrub, and you should see some pretty good results just from some simple things. So below, for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, there is a printable of tips of things you can do that I talked about in this video. For those of you in the Flourish course, I've included that same printable in your coursework. So anyways, if you guys have questions, you guys can drop me a message somewhere, or if there's something you think I should add to this video, something else that you don't think I covered, something you think I missed, let me know and I'll make another one. All right? Okay, you guys have a super fabulous, great day.